I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dreams some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all.
So with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this wonderful land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that we face and that affects so many aspects of our lives. And if you want to join the conversation today, the number to call is 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. If you have a question you want to ask, a story you want to share, just some things you want to talk about that you think might interest our audience, feel free to call at 718-717-8296. Well, it's been a wonderful weekend for me this weekend. I took a trip. I've been on the road, very heavily the past several weeks, and will be again in the months of April and May. And then I'm going to be off the road, off a heavy schedule of training workshops, and only doing them more occasionally for cross-country education, now Vine education. And I'm really thinking that it's time for me to semi-retire and enjoy life a little bit and devote my time and my energy to some different things. And one of the things I'm most grateful for is that my dear wife of 36 years almost has kind of nudged me in a particular direction to spend more of my time and energy with some active community building and active peacemaking and active relationship building. And I couldn't be more grateful, and I couldn't be more inspired, because we're not going to be able to continue the way we've been going for very much longer. And I do believe that the world is at the precipice of a brand new, organizing, and inspiring myth for our time. And by myth, I don't mean a falsehood. I mean a new story, a new way of framing our purpose, our very existence, that will bring us to a new level of engagement with one another and make some really great things possible. And, for a long time, I've done my piece in the way of giving all these training workshops on the nature of character disturbance so that professionals, mental health professionals of all kinds, psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, marriage and family therapists, licensed counselors, nurse practitioners, all the folks involved in helping people deal with their emotional, psychological, and spiritual problems. I've done these workshops now for a number of years, and it's time to step back and focus my energies in a different direction. I've spent the better part of 35 years of my professional career dealing with disturbed characters and their aggrieved relationship partners, trying to empower the partners in their toxic relationships and trying to do my best to bring some sanity to the lives of the disturbed characters whose ways of seeing things and core beliefs and attitudes and ways of doing things made such a mess, not only of their lives, but the lives of others around them. So I've done that for the better part of the past 35 years. But now it's time to turn my energies into a different direction. And in that regard, even this program is going to be changing. It's still going to be all about character and how it matters. But since its inception, the program has been about how central character is to the foundations of our society. And in that regard, you've heard play at the beginning and end of the program an inspirational patriotic piece that my wife and I composed many years ago at the turn of the new millennium to make the case for freedom being dependent upon character. That all these freedoms that we hold so dear are actually a liability in the hands of disturbed and disordered characters. But you give people of great character, of good character, of solid moral compass, you give these people maximum freedom to innovate, to thrive, to prosper without restriction. You give people who have good moral grounding this freedom, and wonderful things happen. Great societies get built. And that's the core message of the song that you hear. But I'm thinking that it's time for a different theme, and I really would like some input on this. So you can either email me through my blog at drgeorgesimon.com, also manipulative-people.com. Either URL will get you to the same location. You can email me suggestions by using the contact feature on the blog. Let me know your thoughts. Or you can call into the program and share with me your suggestions. But I'm looking for a new theme song. Maybe I'll even write one. I'm going to talk about something related to that in just a minute. But I need something new because the direction of the program is going to change. I think I mentioned in my most recent blog article that I posted on Friday that even the official entity of the American Psychiatric Association that publishes the official diagnostic manual that all mental health professionals use to diagnose and treat mental illness, they have come to the conclusion that all the ways we have traditionally defined character disturbances and even disorders has got to change. In the preface to the personality disorders section, up until this most recent edition, for every edition since the second edition of the manual, the definition given for a personality disorder is a style of relating and coping that is so inflexible, so extreme in its manifestation, or so deviant from the norm that it causes distress to an individual or to others. And it impairs the person's ability to function. That's been the traditional definition of a disorder, an impairment especially of ability to function in a wide variety of spheres. Well, unfortunately, given the cultural climate of the times for the past several decades, personality styles, attitudes, ways of seeing things, ways of doing things that were once regarded as highly pathological are neither so extreme in their manifestation anymore, at least they don't appear as extreme in their manifestation, and they're certainly not as deviant from the norm as they once were. As a matter of fact, many of them are the new norm. And they're also not so inflexible, because many times people can adjust their styles of relating depending on the environment that they're in. And so we have to come up with a new definition. And the new definition looks like it's going to be relationally based. In other words, everything that affects us is all about relationship. It's all about how we relate. And we haven't related to one another in a very healthy way for a long time. And we need to do a better job there. And it starts at home. So the program is going to take a different focus. It's going to be about the effect of character disturbances in relationships. And it's even going to add some new dimensions, some real, true spiritual dimensions. Because really at the heart of it, that's what impairs relationships. Is an unhealthy spirituality. Now, I didn't just say an unhealthy religiosity, although many religions offer various paths to great spirituality. So it's not really about that. It's about matters that affect the human heart, the deepest recesses of the human soul. That's what it's about. And these are the matters that most impact relationships. It's why relationships go awry. It's also why many hardened characters form. We used to think that only trauma could harden a heart, could so wound a heart, that calluses had to form, and that maladaptive ways of coping had to spring up. There's an axiom that many mental health professional, many health professions teach in various schools, like schools of social work or psychology or counseling, even psychiatry. The axiom is only hurt people hurt people. But that isn't true, because there are many people deeply hurt, deeply wounded, who don't turn around and hurt other people. And that's because they have a unique brand of spirituality. And there's another reason that people hurt people. It's not just what happens to a person that can harden their heart, but what they don't get in the way of spiritual nurturance, spiritual food. It's what they're not given in the way of grounding, in the kind of vision, broad vision and awareness. That's the key word, awareness of what would foster the development of decent character, of good character. I'm finishing up a book right now called The 10 Commandments of Character. It's going to be a radically different book when it's finished than when it started. My co-author is probably not happy it's taken so long to get it out. But it's going to be a different book altogether, informed by new insights and new awarenesses. It will be my final opus, literary-wise. My last gift, shall we say. And I pray that it has the same success that I've enjoyed with my other works, not so much because I want to do well. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be earmarking any revenues, a percentage of revenues, for some really interesting causes. I'll share that with you at some time in the future. But I hope it does well because I want the message to get out there. The world needs to heal. And how that's going to happen is one heart at a time and one relationship at a time. That's how it's going to happen. We are going to have to learn how to relate. I give this message all the time in my training workshops to clinicians when I'm explaining to them the difference between traditional therapy and the kind of therapy that works for the character impaired. It's so radically different. It's so radically different. It's hard for even the average person to comprehend. But believe it or not, it's even more difficult many times for mental health professionals to comprehend it, because so many of them are steeped in traditional notions about why people do the things they do, what makes them tick, both on the outside and on the inside, and what we have to do to make things better, or what we need to try to do to make things better. They're steeped in these notions that are not helpful when it comes to dealing with character disturbance. So what I teach them in these workshops is that the process of engagement between a duly trained therapist and a person of impaired character the process of engagement is, in fact, in itself, the therapy. What the therapist does in a loving but confrontational and artful way is instruct the disturbed character in the ways of relating in a healthier fashion. You confront attitudes that are unhealthy. You confront ways of thinking that are unhealthy. You confront responsibility avoidance and manipulation tactics that are unhealthy. And you invite the person to a different response. And then you let them experience the natural reinforcement of a positive relationship. That's what you do. And it changes everything. And it takes many of my clinicians that I train a lot of time to see that difference and to understand how radically different the work is. It's been very highly rewarding work for me. And I continue to grow in the, I'm continuing to grow I'm getting a message that there's nothing broadcasting. There should be. I'm logged in and I see everything working. Not sure what the problem is here. So we obviously have some kind of a technical problem, and I'm not sure what it is. So let me figure out what's going on here, and then I'll get back to you. If anybody else is out there tuned in and they're experiencing any problems, let me know. So, Ms. Producer, if you find that we still have a problem, I would surely appreciate knowing that we do. And I'm hoping that we are not having the problem on other formats. So I just got word from my producer that everything seems to be okay. So hopefully we are we are live as we thought we would be, and that everything is okay. And by the way, once again, if you want to join the conversation tonight, the number to call is 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. And I'll be happy to take your call. So to get back to what I was talking about, with regard to the differences in helping folks with character impairments kind of see the light and come to a new level, I'm going to take a different focus on the program in the coming weeks and not talk so much about the mechanics, the psychological mechanics of change, but we're going to be increasingly focusing on those aspects of core spirituality. And notice once again, I did not say religion, because we're not really going to bring religion into this per se. We're going to be talking about the core aspects of spirituality, the core matters of the heart, the most essential, needs of the human soul, and how various character impairments interfere with that core connection, with that deep connectedness that we need to have with each other. Not just in our most intimate relationships, but in all of our relationships. How we approach them, how we live. Recently, I have gone through a very difficult time. You know, there are those things that happen in your life that shake up your entire world. Those things that make you pause and take notice and really seriously contemplate things. And when those things happen, there can be many, many invitations to many, many different responses. I have a dear friend who suffered a tremendous loss, not too many months ago. And she is still grieving this loss. But what I've learned from her in her grieving process is how important the condition of our souls really matters, and how important our relationships are in fostering the wellness of those souls. I learned from that. And I learned from my own ordeal. Trust me, folks, when I say it is a script I would not have written for myself. I was very, very much at odds with my higher power as I conceive that power, for allowing this drama that I had to experience to unfold. I questioned why. And in my damaged and wounded pride, I insisted that the script could have been better. But in fact, it probably couldn't. You know, I'm not even going to second guess that. Who knows? What really matters, I've come to learn, is not what happens, but what the nature of our response is. You know, there's a very common expression in life. You hear it all the time. A four-letter word starting with SH happens. You know, that's life. That is life. Stuff happens. But what really matters is our response to it, the nature of our response to it. That's really what defines our spiritual condition. how we respond. And let me tell you, because of the ordeal and because of the nature of it, I was so tempted to respond in some really extraordinarily evil ways. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever been so tempted to be so destructive, both to myself and others. I really needed grounding in my faith, and I really needed grounding in my own inner voice, my own inner awareness of something much bigger, something much more important than even my own ego or my own heart. When your heart is wounded, you're invited to do so many things to protect. Because each one of us operates under a delusion. We operate under the delusion that we can somehow, if we take care enough, protect enough, build enough, that we can ensure our well-being, when in fact, at any time, our very life could be asked of us. So how do we live life to its fullest with unbounded, infinite joy? Well, we do that by relating to one another in a particular way. And it's a sad, sad fact that most of us don't do it. In our state here in Arkansas, I broadcast live most of the time from my home studio here in Maumelle, Arkansas, which is a suburb of Little Rock, Arkansas, where I've been for the last 36 years. Not originally from here, but this has been home. It's been a wonderful home. And I want to say that in that time, I've learned some things about the dominant attitudes that prevail. We're a primarily politically conservative state, but we're also an unusual state in that we have a couple of large metropolitan areas, and they're not that large. None of them are all that large. And then the rest of the state is pretty rural, where communities still have that sense of community. Matter of fact, on this trip that I was telling you about that I took with my dear wife of 36 years to celebrate her birthday this weekend, we took a trip to one such beautiful community where it's remarkable how well interconnected folks are. We were eating dinner in a restaurant, and some people sitting next to us at a table began to talk with us give us information about the restaurant, which is a wonderful place. We've loved going to it before. It'd been years since we'd been back. So they gave us information about it and about the owner and about the owner's daughter and about a home that they built over the years, overlooking a river that feeds Table Rock Lake, and inviting us to take a trip and do some photographing of some bridges in this wonderful area, and we did, and it was just magnificent. And the sign to this one little community read, "Welcome to Nostalgia." It was such an appropriate sign for what we witnessed, because everybody we met, from the innkeeper sitting on the porch of the general store, who invited us in and talked our head off, and then we realized we had a connection in our own son, who she's talked to in his capacity at a university. And then meeting other people and seeing the interconnectedness and how the community worked and supported each other. That's what needs to happen, not just in our country, but worldwide. And it happens one heart at a time, one relationship at a time. And that's the new direction that this program is going to be taking over the next several months. And that's why I ask you, if you have a mind to, and you have some thoughts about it, to be thinking about a new theme song that we can play at the beginning, at the close of the program. I want to stay away from something strictly religious or denominational, but a spiritually uplifting song would be really nice, I think. And one that speaks to the issue of relationship and its nature. That would be really wonderful. So if anybody has any ideas, I'd love to hear them. And if anybody else has a comment or question or concern or a situation you want to share, just anything at all, you can give us a call at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296, and I will be happy to take your call. Well, I was telling you about our state and about something going on here. And then I got kind of sidetracked, so I'm going to come back to the issue right now. We have a situation going on right now that is really unprecedented. We've had these debates in our state over and over again about the humaneness of our methods of capital punishment. And there's been court battles about this and whatnot. As it turns out, we have what appears to be an acceptable, at least according to the courts, presently, an acceptable cocktail of drugs to put people to death. And we're beginning to have quite a conversation about this, because the unprecedented nature of our situation is that this acceptable so-called cocktail of drugs by which to execute people has a shelf life. And the expiration date on these drugs is fast approaching, where they will lose potency and therefore their acceptability as instruments of execution will be under some question again. So we have a unique situation in which our governor, to not waste these drugs, wants to make sure that we use them all at once and set execution dates immediately for 8 inmates on death row. And this is raging a firestorm of controversy. And you know, I think it's a long time that we as a society had a serious conversation about this precious gift we call life. You know, it's amazing to me. There are some advocates, zealots, truly, and well-founded. They're founded in their own principles, and they have sincere beliefs. There are those who sincerely believe that to take these lives in any way is wrong, is morally reprehensible, and that life should be preserved, respected at all costs. Yet some of these same people, some, might say that in the case of a suffering, soon-to-die person, that the most merciful thing we can do is end suffering. One of the things I've learned is that how we accept and deal with suffering is really the biggest single indicator of what our spirituality is, of where we are, what the nature of our relationship is with that ultimate power, that ultimate driving, moving, beautiful, loving force, responsible for bringing all things into existence and sustaining that existence. How we respond to the difficulties is what it's all about. And everybody has a unique story already written for them. It's an amazing concept. That every soul has its own particular journey. It's an amazing concept. It's not just a concept. It's an amazing reality that we just don't often see. We're blinded to it. We don't see the bigger picture. We have tunnel vision. We're so focused on the things that don't really matter all that much. We had an exchange student visit us from Italy for a year. Wonderful young man who's going to be getting married in June, and I wish that we could go. We've indicated that we would try to be there, but our schedules are such that we just can't. But we'll be there in spirit. But when this young man was with us and he was witnessing so many aspects of how our culture works, and when he was witnessing the frenzy of our daily lives, and witnessing especially the materialism that seems to dominate everything, our whole economy runs on people spending money on what this young man so brilliantly called one day. He used this. he he put these two he put these two words together. Excuse me, so poetically. Spending on what he called useless necessities, things that seemed so necessary to make us happy or fulfilled, and that really were, in essence, when you looked deeper under the surface, so really useless. And our whole economy seems to depend on this. Whether we'll throw away the car that still works, but we've gotten tired of, or trade it in for a brand new, flashier model, so we can smell that smell, so we can have that experience. And after all, that helps sustain people. That's the way our system works. Or buying that other appliance, that umpteenth thing for the kitchen that does something that no other appliance does, but could still easily be done by hand or in some other way, that we don't really need and barely have room for. I don't know about you folks, but our house is so packed with stuff, it's so we barely have room for anything. Useless necessities, as my dear friend would say. So we think that these things will buy us security and happiness. We also think that they will ensure us a long and a pleasant life. But the way life works is not that way. As I said moments ago, there's a four-letter word that begins with SH, and it happens daily. And sometimes when that stuff happens, it's really traumatic. Sometimes the stuff that happens strikes us right at the heart, cuts deep, wounds us, unnerves us, unsettles us, shakes up our entire world. And some wise person many years ago noted that it's our response to those situations. It's how we respond that really determines, or that really manifests or displays or reveals, that's the word I'm looking for, reveals the nature of our own personal spirituality, where we're at on our spiritual growth path. It's how we respond to those very situations that reveals to us where we are on the path. I have to tell you, in this ordeal that I've been through these past few months, I did not pick up any cross willingly. I was kicking and screaming and bargaining and pleading the whole way. And then I had to first, well, I didn't have to, I guess, but I did. Thank goodness. And I do mean that. Thank goodness. First, it was all about swallowing pride. And then it became all about not only accepting, but actually embracing the wound, tending to it lovingly, responding to it rightly. And that couldn't have occurred by playing get back, by lashing out, by running away, by any of those things that we're tempted to do when we're wounded. Those are the things we're tempted to do. We're tempted to build barriers, defenses. Sometimes we're tempted to run. Sometimes we're even tempted to check out. Stuff happens. That's life. We get wounded. But what defines not just our character, but the condition of our spirituality is how we deal with the wound. It's how we deal with the wound. So, a lot of things are going to be changing. Not just in the nature of this program. We may lose some people in the audience. It's okay with me because we're starting a new conversation. We have relationships to mend. We have hearts to inspire. We have communities to build. We have a wounded world to heal. And we're going to be about that business on this program. We don't have to change the title because it's still ultimately about character. It's still ultimately about that. But the tone will change, the direction will change, and the theme will likely change as well. And once again, I welcome all suggestions. I said I might even have a contribution of my own to make there, and I wanted to share a little bit about that. Many years ago, during the burst of creativity that occurred, that came out of nowhere, folks, when I composed the theme song that you hear, when I composed the music in my head, it was something that I never thought would happen because it's just, for years and years, it hadn't been my thing. I never even thought about it. I've always loved music. The only instrument that I ever played very well was my voice. And so I enjoyed singing. And I never thought, ever, that I would compose music. I'd written some lyrics to a song, some lyrics, by the way, which I'm soon to print out and frame, but never written a piece like the piece you'll hear at the close. And during that burst of creativity, I had a dream, a very, very vivid dream, one of those dreams that sticks with you because of how powerful it was and because of the message that was there. And in this dream, there were people, throngs of people in some foreign land, marching peacefully in the streets, walking, not marching, walking peacefully in the streets, holding lighted candles as part of a movement that I knew was to unite the world. And they were singing a song. And the language seemed to be something akin to Spanish, maybe Portuguese, but it didn't really sound like any language that I knew, or at least knew of. Here we have a caller calling in, so I'm going to take the call and see what we can do. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters. Hello? Yes, welcome to Character Matters. Well, whoever it was is not either not able to converse or the call dropped, one of the two. And besides which, we are very, very close to the end of the program. But as I was saying about this song, I had the melody, and I wrote it down so that I wouldn't forget it. And then I just kind of left it there because I didn't have words. But now the words are becoming clear. All right, we're going to try and accept this call again. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters.
Yeah, the call did drop, but I'm back. I know you're changing the format, and I've only been listening for like the last 3 or 4 weeks. Is there any way to listen to prior programs?
Oh, absolutely. All the podcasts are on the website for ucy.tv. You can go. Okay. There's a whole archive there.
Okay. All right, great.
You can download them real easily.
Okay. Well, I thank you.
You're certainly welcome.
I'm enjoying it, and I think I will continue.
Wonderful. Only the flavor of the program will change. There'll still be all kinds of valuable information, but we're going to get.
Oh, I totally believe that.
Well, wonderful. I'm glad to have you listening, and I'm glad you called in. Hope you get the podcast. And also, we'll have links for them, and we'll have the archives also up soon on my website, which has been merged with my blog at manipulative-people.com, drgeorgesimon.com. We're rebuilding the site and putting all those features there, so you'll be able to get them there too.
Yeah, because one of those sites I couldn't get on, but I'll try it again.
Okay?
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Well, I hope you have enjoyed the program. I hope you will enjoy the format changes coming up. Tune in next week for another edition of Character Matters. I'm Dr. George Simon. Thanks for tuning in.